Hello everybody, my name is Roger and welcome to my channel, Rogers Reads. So today I'm doing another book review and the name of the book is entitled Warbreaker, written by Brandon Sanderson. So this is a book that's been on my shelf for quite some time and I've been meaning to get to it and I finally did. And let me tell you what a ride this was. So Warbreaker is a story that follows two sisters who are princesses, a handful of mercenaries, a powerful yet deadly and mysterious warrior, a flippant atheist god who seems to take nothing at all seriously, a group of other gods and goddesses, all of whom have returned from the dead, and finally the God King, who is the ultimate ruler in this world. So, there are two kingdoms in this story, Idris, from where our two princesses come from, and Hyttinen, which is ruled by a silent yet powerful and fearsome God King. So these two cities have been barely tolerating each other for 3 centuries, but now the king of Idris has to make good on his marriage contract. You see, one of his daughters has been promised to the God King, I think it was 20 years ago that the deal was made, with the goal being of providing the God King an heir while maintaining the peace between the two rival nations. But things turn out a little differently than expected when one of the daughters is en route to marry the God King in Hyttinen, and the other has undertaken a personal rescue mission to save her sister because war is brewing between the two countries. So the rest of the story takes place in Hyttinen, where we're introduced to the living gods called the Returned, because they've returned from the dead. You see, if somebody dies and comes back from the dead, then they are worshipped as gods. We're also introduced to a system of magic called breaths, which revolves around breath and colors. So a breath is a chromatic essence of a person. Think of like a person's soul, and each person is born with one breath, which can be given by one person and taken by another, but it has to be done voluntarily. So the person who gives his or her breath away then becomes what's called a drab, in which the world appears gray and pretty much colorless. The person receiving the breath is bestowed with heightened senses in which they're able to discern subtle distinctions of color and sound. But moreover, they are infused with magic, making them capable of animating objects such as clothing, rope, dead squirrels, and even little men made of straw, and commanding these objects to do your bidding. This system is called awakening, and the person needs to have a lot of breaths to perform an awakening. Now there's also another mysterious character named Vasher, who were introduced immediately in the first chapter, and he repeatedly appears throughout the book. But the thing is we have no idea who he is or what he's up to. Maybe he's trying to assassinate someone. Maybe he's going to start a war. But the more he appears, the more that is slowly revealed. So, as political chaos and conspiracies, backstabbing and unrest in the streets begins to brew, we learn that someone is indeed trying to start a war between the two nations, and it's up to only a few people to prevent it. And these people are a god who doesn't believe in his own divinity, a princess who overnight became unimportant, another princess who overnight became all-important, an immortal wielding a sentient dagger whose primary goal is to kill evil, and there's the God King himself. So on to what I liked about this book. So given that the magic system in this story revolves around colors, it's no surprise that Warbreaker is a book with vibrant and vivid colors. I found it very easy to picture the scenes in my head, and the lush descriptions really helped to give the novel a strong sense of place. Additionally, the plotting and world building were outstanding. In this story, Sanderson gives us a rich world filled with riveting history and mythology, fascinating politics, an intriguing mystery, and numerous twists and turns and surprises, resulting in a truly immersive read. I especially enjoyed the political system in which the common people actually interacted with their gods one-on-one. The gods themselves were also captivating, and I found it interesting how they remembered nothing from their past lives after they were returned. So in essence, they had to reinvent themselves all over again once they began their second life. Speaking of return, I love the whole concept of it, and I found it fresh and original. I also thought that the mythology surrounding the court of gods and the gods king was utterly fascinating, and really would have loved to have learned more about it. But the real treasures of this story were the rich, vivid, and lifelike characters. So we have two princesses who couldn't be more different personality-wise from the other, and both of whom grew enormously throughout the arc of the story. Then there's the sarcastic, witty, and irreverent god named Lightsong the Bold, my personal favorite character. He's a multi-layered hero who doesn't believe in his own divinity, and whose main goal is to be as lazy and useless as possible. Then there's Denth and Tonk Fa, two tremendously humorous mercenaries who popped in Vienna's life, which is one of the princesses. Vasher, the deadly and enigmatic warrior. And then there's Nightblood, Vasher's sentient talking sword, who has one role: to destroy evil. But given that he's only a sword, its concept of evil is a tad cloudy, so it simply sets out to destroy everything. And then there's Susebron, the holy and majestic God King, who we know nothing about until his personality slowly begins to be revealed, slowly begins to unfold in the story. And there are numerous other gods and goddesses and high priests, all of whom were entertaining with distinct, well-developed personalities. So, all this being said, the character development of the book was terrific, especially with Ciri, Viviana, which are the two princesses, and the god Lightsong. It was fun seeing all their growth as the tale progressed. And I thought there was a lot more humor in this book than you see, or that I've seen in other Sanderson novels, and I caught myself laughing out loud many times during the story. Lightsong's witty and wry humor was particularly fun, especially during his exchanges with the other gods and goddesses. I also enjoyed the endless banter between the two male mercenaries, and even the exchanges between Vasher and his deadly talking sword were often amusing. Quite often amusing, truth be told. So, as is the case with other Brandon Sanderson novels, the magic system in Warbreaker, which uses a combination of breath and color to bring objects to life, was phenomenal. There were some fascinating scenes involving animated objects and zombie-like returned characters. The author really has a knack for coming up with these creative magic systems that are intricate, clever, and unique, but still easy for the reader to understand. Additionally, I like the idea that magic is costly in this world, and it is not easy to master. Another thing that I really liked about this book was how everyone has the potential to do magic in this world, not just a select few like you usually see. It all depends on how many breaths that you can gather up. So the more breath that a person acquires, the longer they live and the more magic they can do. So on to what I didn't like about the book. Susbron the God King remained pretty much a mystery throughout the end of the story. I mean, we learned a little bit about him, but not nearly enough to be satisfying, because curious minds want to know. So I wish the author would have delved a little more deeply into his story and his history. And likewise, I wish he would have gone into a little bit more history about the many-war, the returned, and the court of the gods, all three of them being utterly fascinating. Another thing is that the book took a while to get going. Now, my experience with Brandon Sanderson novels has shown me that they're often slow starting, as the author spends a good portion of the book on world building as the characters in the story begin to take shape. So in this way, the middle dragged just a little bit. However, I felt that the slow build was totally worth it, as the story took off like a bullet, especially during the last 20% of the book. So on to my final verdict. I really did not have any niggles with this book at all, and I ended up loving it. Like other Sanderson books that I've read, the world in Warbreaker is infused with a captivating magic system, compelling political scheming and plotting, unique and interesting religions, and such history and mythology, rich history and mythology, that I couldn't help but fall in love with the story. The author expertly intertwines religion, culture, mythology, and history into a genuinely compelling narrative. There were so many interesting themes that ran throughout the book. There was religion, sacrifice, bravery, intolerance, self-discovery, compassion, empathy, and redemption. It also has an excellent cast of believable characters, a plausible world, an intriguing political system, and a thoroughly satisfying conclusion. I really, really love this epic, compelling, complex story of Ciri, Viviana, Lightsong, Vasher, and Susbron as they struggle through emotional, physical, and moral challenges. The intrigue and excitement grew steadily, resulting in a perfectly balanced story, which by the end proved to be difficult for me to put down. So all in all, Warbreaker was a tremendous book that I absolutely loved. So, so that is it for my review of Warbreaker. Have you read it? If so, what did you think? Let me know in the comments. So, that about does it. As always, I thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all of your support. And if you like this video, I'd appreciate if you click the like button below. It helps me and my channel out. And also, if you haven't subscribed, consider doing so. And then you can hit the little bell icon to be notified whenever I release new videos. And that about does it. I will talk to you in the next video. Roger and out.